Hey friends! Want to learn how to deal with immature people? Stay tuned! Hey, welcome back friends! My name is Brittany Shank and I'm here to talk to you about dealing with immature people. So here we go. Alright, so immature people. Let's talk first about what they are and then let's talk about how to deal with them. Okay? Okay. A couple signs of somebody who is immature. I feel like I probably don't need to relay this information to you guys, but perhaps this will be helpful in identifying people that maybe you previously didn't identify as being immature, if you will. So let's go. A couple signs of immaturity is people who are quick to react. So for example, you get into a disagreement, which disagreements are totally normal, right? You get into a disagreement and the person is like hot flopping. They are all over the place. They are angry. They are spewing. They are like boom, boom, boom. They are all over the place. They are angry and mad quick. Quick reactions are a sign of immaturity. Our emotions aren't quite mature yet. Another example is when we get stuck, right? And so that means that we got into a disagreement and we can't get off of it now. So every friend we talk to, every conversation we have is about this disagreement that happened. Defensive. So when you bring something to a person like this, immediately they're on the defense. So you're like, hey girl, hey, my feelings were totally hurt the other day. And they're like, well, you just hurt my feelings the other day. Right? That like defensive, quick reacting type of temperament. Another example is they play the victim. And so they have a tough time identifying when they might have played a hurtful role in a situation. And so oftentimes always play the victim. And even in scenarios where they might have felt like they wanted the outcome, they still played the role of the victim in that. So let me pick that one apart for you a little bit. So let's say somebody is actively searching for a new job and they get their dream job, but they have to go back and put in their notice to their employer. And when they go back and put in their notice to their employer, they play it off as if they're the victim and not as if this was their dream job. So they might say something like, well, you know, I just felt like I had to quit because the hours just weren't working for my family. Or I felt like I had to quit because so-and-so was just so mean to me all the time. When in reality, they're like, sweet, I got my dream job, ooh, 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 ooh. But they play the victim. It's a sign of immaturity. And the last one I want to talk about, there are plenty more, you guys, so please comment them below. But the last one I want to talk about is that they're ghosters in fights. So for example, there's a disagreement that happens and they fight and then peace out. And then you don't hear from them for a long, long time. I hope I put into perspective the type of people that I'm talking about in this video. And so we can move forward with talking about how to handle them and some insight maybe to think of when we're talking about them. So a couple of things. Maturity is not taught, right? And maturity doesn't come with a certain age. So it's not as if we say, okay, when somebody turns 18, boom, they're mature. No, it doesn't happen like that. It'd be kind of interesting and cool if it did happen like that, but it doesn't happen like that. So maturity is a combination of a ton of things. One is life experience. So people guide us and mold us and emulate proper behaviors and maturity to us. And so if we haven't been guided or that ability hasn't been emulated to us, it's a lot harder to learn, right? And the other piece of it is that if we were constantly taught how to be highly reactive, highly defensive, play the victim, we might not have the skills or have seen enough of the skills quite yet to learn that and start using that. Maturity is a muscle that we build, and it's a muscle that if we're not using, it can really diminish quickly, or if we're not using or seeing in other people. The other thing that I find that goes hand in hand with maturity is life experiences. And so sometimes our maturity level skyrockets because of our life experiences and what came at us. So for example, I think about when I went to basic training for the military. And boy, oh boy, did my maturity level quickly go up from where it was. I ain't saying I'm mature, guys. I'm just saying that from when I started to when I ended, there was a difference. But I was forced to mature because of that experience I was at. I was forced to leave the house. I was forced to go on a plane trip by myself. I was forced to meet expectations that had never been made of me before. So our life experiences oftentimes force us to mature. I think about kids in foster care. I think about people who had difficult childhoods growing up and maybe had to act as the parent. All of those can really form our maturity level. Now I want to talk about some things that can hinder our maturity. I think many of us know at least a person like this, but where something heinous happened to them. Something big happened and it almost stunted their maturity level. So you'll hear people say, or I'll hear people say, well, it's almost like they're stuck at that 14-year-old self. Or it's almost like they didn't mature past 12. Right? So there are things in life that can halt our maturity level or really, really significantly diminish the trajectory that our maturity level goes on. Another thing that significantly can impact our maturity level is chemical use. It can happen in utero, where that affects our brain and our maturity level, and happen as we get older. If an extremely traumatic event like alcohol, drugs, a strong addiction, a traumatic event happen, it can really stunt our maturity. So a couple of things that I think of is when we talk about how to deal with tough people or how to deal with immature people, we really need to put into perspective where they're at in life. So when we have these people in our life, I try to think to myself, I see that they're 30 years old, numerically, their ages. But what is their maturity level? What is their emotional level? If I had to specifically put an age on that, what would that be? And so if we can think of that most difficult person in life that we're dealing with, or that most difficult person at work, or maybe it's mom, or maybe it's dad, or maybe it's a sibling, really think about how old are they really? Not numerically, not they're 30 years old, or not they're 18 years old. Emotionally, how old are they? And I think that helps us move forward. If the answer to that question is, numerically they're 30, but emotionally and maturity-wise, they're more like 12 or 13, then it really helps us to move forward. And so with that, the last piece of this video is how to move forward. How do we move forward with people that are immature and tough to be around? And the first piece is identifying where they're at maturity-wise and emotionally. And the second piece of that is really look at our expectations and what we are requesting of them, and is it fitting? So if what we're saying is that my mom is 40 years old, but emotionally she acts more like 14, is that congruent? And is it going to happen? Probably not. So really starting to identify and look at what these people that are in our life are capable of, so we can hold them to their strengths instead of making expectations for them that are not met, that are not able to be met. I hope this video was helpful, you guys. Comment below if you have any questions at all. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.